The Global Citizen Forum plays a vital role in ensuring more interconnected world, and we're delighted to partner with them on this summit to promote important conversations around regional governance, collaboration, and the refugee crisis in Latin America. We also recommend that you check out the Global Citizen Forum's Passport Index mobile app, which allows you to take the world's passports in your pocket and see where they can take you. You can find that information if you go to the sponsors and partners page and look up the Global Citizen Forum. With that, I am very pleased to bring onto the stage a member of another one of our programming partners, the Organization of American States, Secretary General Luis Almagro, along with Arman Arton, President and CEO of Arton Capital, as well as the Global Citizen Forum. Armand, always great to have you at Concordia. Over to you.
Mute.
Beg your pardon. Welcome to everybody, Your Excellency. Great to see you again. And Concordia, thank you for having the stage shared with us. You're absolutely right. The previous conversation fits very well into what we would like to discuss now, because the region from Central to Latin America over the last years and decades have been not only shaken by political instability, but as well climate change and hurricanes that have an immediate impact on the relocalization, on the refugee crisis, and the human mobility of hundreds of millions of individuals. So without further delay, I would like to ask Your Excellency, tell us a little bit more about the role of international institutions like yours on supporting a big plan and a bigger agenda in terms of recommendations, expertise related to the refugee crisis in that part of the world.
Yes, it is a very important work for the Organization of American States and to deal with this matter, because of course we are connected to member states related to their priorities. And you have seen that crisis of about migration or refugees have been top in the agenda in the hemisphere in the past years. We have had 6, 7 of them in the past years. And the most evident one, of course, everywhere is the crisis of the Venezuelan refugees, all about the hemisphere. Also, of course, second to that is the crisis of the Nicaraguan refugees, mainly affecting Central America. But the problems of the refugees are the problems of that every citizen may have in a country, because the services of and the policies of our countries are already expressed in normal circumstances. Our countries are developed countries in the best of the cases. So their services about security, about education, about health are already stressed in normal circumstances. So our cooperation is mainly related to how to reinforce that in order to make a life of refugees a little bit better, considering the difficult circumstances that they are already facing related to this matter. So mainly we concentrate in exporting best practices, trying to bring initiatives to support refugees, special programs, special projects. These projects and programs, of course, are related to the services that they need in a more urgent way, like food security, housing, security, health, and education. All these matters are connected to policies and, of course, projects that we help to implement. Sometimes we finance or we provide best practices and experiences from country to country.
Thank you. And what would be the biggest priority that you have right now on your agenda in terms of creating really an effective governance, if you have to pick up one?
The biggest, the most pressing priority is and I'm not finding something new, is of course the financial situation. Financing this program, financing these projects is always a serious challenge. To bring this as a priority in every country is a challenge. We sort of know what is needed, what is requested, and the priorities that we have. The issue always is to find the additional financial resources that can deliver solutions for that. So that is the most urgent matter always. And of course, the second biggest priority is to have the human rights of the refugees respected, and that they have access to rights, and they have this reality of equality that is needed to deliver to the refugees. And that is also a very important matter that we always have to focus on that. But the financial resources are the most scarce, and for that the top priority that we need to face.
And I can imagine that with the COVID crisis, a lot of this situation has become more difficult in terms of finding resources and prioritizing them towards the refugees when countries are trying to be more national and trying to give the most to their own citizens right now. How is this, you think, impacting the easiness of finding the necessary financial resources to this priority?
Yes, because the life of the refugee, no matter how much we wanted this life to be equal to any citizen in any country, it's not like that. We have seen, for example, related to the Venezuelan crisis, and the highest percentage that we see practically every day of employment or informality about those that they have to migrate or leave the country. So that is definitely a very serious challenge, because they live in a different way. They are usually the of social distance are more complicated. Places where they live is more frequently suffer the bad conditions of security. Their access to health is not the same that the citizens that they enjoy legal status in the country, and of course the social distance, it is more complicated, and to respect the norms of quarantine, it is also very complicated, because of course you live day by day, and if for them not being able to work, not being able to win everyday bread is a very complicated matter. So that's those are serious problems that we are facing related to COVID-19 and refugees. And of course, the countries, they are, if in normal circumstances, they are stressed, as we mentioned. You add COVID and these complications multiply, and how they can absorb refugees or migration, it becomes even more complicated. So we are facing like the worst scenario ever in the history of the hemisphere, because we are facing the worst migration crisis, because the 5 million displaced Venezuelans, of course, is a serious stress on practically every country in the hemisphere. At the same time, we are facing the worst health situation ever, and of course, because of that, the worst economic and social crisis ever. So we have put all the elements together to face the worst problems that we are facing ever related to this matter. So definitely, solutions are necessary and affirmative action is necessary, and of course the involvement of practically every political, social, and economic actor, it is extremely relevant in order to face this situation.
I agree, but Your Excellency, the world has gone through worse. So I believe in the positive outcome and that solutions will come from private or public partnerships, where I think the importance in other crises where our organization have been very active in the Middle East of the refugee, we have seen that not only international organizations, but private organizations, individuals and foundations are coming where the shortfall comes in terms of finding money from the governments. What are the most important partnerships that you foresee as key partners on finding a solution to this crisis?
Of course, good governance it is extremely relevant, and we need every government of the region to have especially good practices and good experiences working in a proper way in order to resolve this crisis. It is true what you said, but it is also true that the Venezuelan crisis is the crisis that has been worst attended or taken care by the international community. And if we see the financial resources that they were delivered to take care of this crisis, like the Syrian crisis, for example, they are exponentially higher than those that the Venezuelans are receiving, or the Venezuelan crisis is receiving. So definitely it is needed a much stronger participation of financial institutions in order to deal with these matters. And we need donors to be especially aware of this situation. Some initiatives have been done, like the Spanish Conference of Donors, and that it was an extremely important initiative. Much more is needed, and because it will be necessary in the future, of course, of the hemisphere to have more flexible financial solutions, how to deal with the financial crisis that every country will have is facing, because of they need flexibility about new loans, and they need flexibility about how to pay the debt that they already had. So all these solutions are extremely relevant. But of course, at the social level, we need a very strong partnership with the private sector, business sector, private sector. We'll have to think carefully about these matters. The governments will have to, and multinational, multilateral institutions will have also to try to encourage a stronger partnership with the private sector in order to deal with these matters at a hemispherical level.
I agree that the role of the private sector is crucial, because crisis of the refugees is a long-term crisis. It's not going to be fixed over a few years. The integration of these people, because they're not going back, will take a lot of efforts in order to finding the right business opportunity for them.
Yes, and there is something there. No, the causes of this main crisis are related to dictatorships, and this especially the Venezuelan dictatorship, because it has been extremely inefficient how to deal with social and economic and production, and they will not learn how to govern in the next months or in the next year. So the conditions of the humanitarian crisis were already there before COVID-19. Somehow COVID-19 stopped the migration, stopped the refugee moving around because of this situation. Even 130,000 returned to Venezuela. But immediately after COVID-19, this thing will restart, because the Venezuelans will not the Venezuelan dictatorship will not fix anything related to the social and economic and political crisis that they have. So this will restart, and it will be necessary to create wealth and those that they create wealth is definitely the private sector, and that they will have to play a very relevant role in the future of the hemisphere.
And I agree as well with you that the crisis in the hemisphere is not as well known to the rest of the world compared to the crisis in the Middle East and the one that reached Europe. What can we do to create that awareness? What especially your organizations can do in order to let know the world, the rest of the world, the importance and the magnitude of this crisis, so it can mobilize the rest of the world to support it?
Well, we have been working very hard in order to improve the knowledge of this of the refugee crisis in the hemisphere. We need, as you said, stronger international awareness. The problem in the Venezuelan case is that the international awareness is pretty much connected to the recognition of the failure of a dictatorship, and not everybody in the world is ready to condemn dictatorships, because believe it or not, but it's only in the Western Hemisphere that we have democracies, and then they appear very rarely all about. If you look at the constituency of United Nations, the majority of the countries are not democracies, and some of them, they don't even believe in democracy at all, and their records of human rights is very bad. So when it's time to condemn a dictatorship at this multilateral level, because the other refugee crises, they have been created by an armed conflict, not a self-infliction done by a dictatorship to its own people. Have been created because of a conflict that escalated and the people couldn't hold there anymore. The problem in Venezuela is that the people couldn't hold on anymore about a dictatorship that was not taking care of them, was not protecting their human rights, was not protecting their social conditions, were not delivering food, were not delivering health and security to the people. So people had to abandon the country. That is, it has always been easier to achieve international awareness when there is an armed conflict, not when there is this kind of dictatorship. So we have to keep denouncing, we have to raise our voices, and we have to make our presence very uncomfortable to those that they want to appease a relation with a dictatorship that have created this biggest humanitarian crisis in the hemisphere.
Thank you. Thank you, Your Excellency. And I'm sure that through Concordia and our Global Citizen Forum, your voice have been heard from hundreds of leaders and decision makers from the private and public sector who will try to work together and combine, reunite to support such an important initiative. Thank you for your time again. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Arman. Very, very good. Very nice to have this conversation.